Welcome back to episode 30 of the Burning the Redshirt podcast. I'm your host, Zach Tao, and with me is Chris K and Andrew Katz. And as you guys notice, I'm not in my normal setup. I'm actually on a work trip in Florida, so I'm making this work, taking the time to do this. But how you guys doing tonight?
Good. I'm glad you cleared up for our podcast listeners that your backdrop is a little different. But
well, the people that watch the YouTube, Brett likes to watch the YouTube. So
Brett, super fan. I will say
an audience of one.
I will say I can't make fun of you because I didn't have any hair gel in. I took a shower. I did a bike ride, took a shower, and I pulled up the camera and I was like, damn it, I got to go put some hair gel in. Like, I can't come in, and there's no one going to watch this. So here we are. I'm wearing hair gel.
You took a shower, then went for a bike ride, and then took another shower?
No. I biked, and then I took a shower. Yeah.
True.
So.
Because I can relate to OCD showering. I'm minimum 2 a day.
Yeah, I mean, I got if I'm getting sweaty like that, I'm showering.
Oh yeah. If I obviously if you mow the yard or go run or whatever,
game over.
You got to take a shower, right?
Yeah.
There's some people that just they take a shower in the morning and then it doesn't matter what they do in the day, they're not taking one till the next morning.
I can't do that.
No, I can't either. I feel so gross.
How does one do that?
Yeah.
It's as mental as it is physical.
Yeah. All right, so we just got through week 3, right? This was week 3, right?
Correct.
Well, now we're on week 4, but
now we're going to week 4. But was there anything that kind of jumped out at you guys that was alarming to, say, a team that maybe we thought was good is we've seen enough to now say they're maybe not so good, or vice versa? Maybe they're better than we expected. Because I'll say Anthony Richardson, to me, I've never been a big fan of his. And it's nothing, I guess, personal, but I just felt like everybody's trying to anoint him as the next Cam Newton or the next great college quarterback. And he still could be, but you definitely see the flaws in his game more so than you did that week 1. What do you guys think?
He's clearly hurt. He would have gone for 40 or 50 fantasy points against South Florida, no problem, if he wasn't. That we, as in anyone talking college football specifically about him, can't have a conversation about how he's playing presently without acknowledging that he's hurt. There's little whispers and stuff about knee or foot or whatever. It's definitely something. He played well against Florida, right? And then the idea is that he got hurt against Kentucky, and what we've seen since then has been largely a product of that. You can knock his throwing.
Played well against Utah. You said played well against Florida.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Assuming you meant Utah.
I'm shot. This is what happens when we record at night, middle of the week. But where was I going with that? I mean, you can knock. It's fair to knock his throwing or his passing ability relative to his peers, but agnostic of that, he would have just destroyed South Florida on the ground if he was healthy. There's no question about that.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I guess when you're this is the way I look at it. If you're hurt, then don't play.
Well, Jack Miller's hurt, and who's QB3 on Florida? I assume
maybe Jack Spears.
So they started the year with Richardson, Jack Miller, Ohio State kid who got hurt, and then the third string Del Rio Wilson transferred to Syracuse. I have no idea who their actual backup is for Richardson now at this point.
So he may not have had a choice, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Chris, what'd you think?
I mean, if he's hurt, that would explain it. All I know is their DraftKings is just going to put him at a price. I burn all my money every single weekend until he's healthy. So
yeah, I lit a lot of money on fire on him this past week.
I would him and Mike Wright. I lost some money on Mike Wright just randomly not playing, just getting benched.
That would have, dude. I would have been so mad if that happened to me.
I was real mad. That was an hour I would like to apologize to my family and friends for.
Damn.
No, not really. But it just was super frustrating. I'm surprised to not hear frustration out of your camp, Andrew, amongst the injury news that popped.
Because Georgia gave up that touchdown in the last minute. I'm a little mad about that.
Even worse, Kadon Salter is out this week.
Dude, I was running so hot in the offseason, just avoiding injuries and dumb stuff happening to all my players and best balls and stuff. And it's really kind of been the opposite since the season started. Like, who knows if Braden Bennett's actually good? We may never find out. We got a whole half out of Chandler Morris. That was exciting. And now Kadon Salter, we've talked about it the last couple of weeks on the pod. The 4-week beautiful slate is finally here for him to just tear up against Akron, Gardner-Webb, UMass, Old Dominion. It was all there. It was all happening, and now it's not happening.
It's gone.
The way I sleep at night, though, is I tell myself that if stuff like this didn't happen, no one else would play the game because I would always win. So you got to have a more long-term outlook on stuff like this. I think it's
a long-term play. You're just making more money over time now.
Yeah, bring more people into the game.
Before we went live, like I admittedly said I had not watched much college football this past weekend. But
is that a lie?
One of the scores, is it a lie?
Was it a lie?
No,
is that where you're going with this?
No, it's not a lie. But one of the scores that caught my interest, like I was, box score watching like throughout the day, but I didn't actually watch much. Well, the score I think that really caught my eye was Air Force Wyoming. Like, what the hell?
That was weird, man. That was awful, is what that was.
Well,
they had a couple late injuries.
I'm in the Mountain West Twitter feed. I see all these people talk about Mountain West teams and all these. Oh, Air Force might be the team to beat in the conference. Blah 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 blah. And then I'm thinking, yeah, they look pretty good. And then they play a Wyoming, who I literally said I'm not sure they win a game this year, and they've won 3 already, and they beat Air Force. So I'm trying to figure out what happened.
I don't know what they do, man. It just as Wyoming was ready for them defensively. Brad Roberts had 54 yards. That's just, and he got a ton of usage. So, and Titus Swen apparently is not hurt because he ran real well. So who knows?
Our boy Aiden Sanchez, I think that's he's got the cool Twitter handle that for years I had no idea what actually represented that. It's ADON7X, but I think his name is actually Aiden Sanchez. But he tweeted out that, or it was either him or Kyle, franchise like that. Air Force has never gotten to whatever their team total was of 31 points against Craig Bowl. It just has never happened all the times that those teams have played. And now you're talking about all these players on Air Force getting ruled out coming into the game. Why is that going to happen tonight? So they were clamoring for an underplay, and I couldn't get it in because I was in Delaware, and you can't bet sports there.
Delaware, you say.
But what was I going to say? I think 2 thoughts coming out of this are, okay, maybe the Air Force coach Troy Calhoun maybe pick. What is it? Were your guys actually hurt and you rushed them back? Maybe that's what's going on here because they're not looking so good all of a sudden. There has to be some level of credit given to Craig Bull in Wyoming. Like we said, just the mass exodus from the program, but really outside of week 0, looking like total garbage when the wins just keep flowing. So credit where it's due from a coaching perspective. Who else could go start 3-1 with that level of talent on that roster?
It's bad.
Yeah,
it's real bad. Andrew Peasley threw 23 passes for 160 yards.
Dude, that guy is atrocious.
And he completed 18. He completed a lot of passes. I mean, just incredible.
So you said talk about the max exodus from Wyoming. Let's talk about the max exodus from Colorado State. We had such high hopes, did we not, of Colorado State this year? And Dante Wright, I know I picked Dante Wright, I think, in a best, probably back in March or April, whenever we did one of those early ones. I think I took Dante Wright in one of those because he was projected to be near the top of the depth chart, whether you thought Horton or Wright, whatever. But he's no longer there. Not just him, Stovall entered the portal too, right?
Yeah, he just entered too. And their kicker left too. Not that really matters.
So what's going on?
Who knows, man? I mean, I think for Dante Wright, I think it's a little bit of just he wasn't a top 2 guy for him. And he was Nate made a good point on Twitter. He basically, Jared had said, well, this feels like such weird timing for people to enter the portal. Like, why wouldn't you just stick it out? And then Nate made the great point of, well, hey, this is game 4.
Yeah.
So you're trying to save that
Yeah.
red shirt. So, I'm surprised Lincoln Riley let Gary Bryant enter the portal.
Right.
I figured for sure he'd make him play 4 more games and burn his red shirt. So in honor of our show. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just a matter of guys we're in such a different landscape now that people can just transfer willy-nilly. I think in dynasty leagues now I'm thinking, like, if I think this guy's actually got talent and someone is over him, like, I'm just going to hold on to him and see where he goes next year.
Yeah.
Because he could easily fall into a great situation.
But and you don't necessarily have to worry about them sitting out or you're wasting a spot because he's got to sit out the whole year. Like, if you have that, you're like, you know what, I'll take the talent and just hope that he pops.
He just goes to a good place. Yeah.
Right. He goes to a situation like I've got DJU, right? Let's say he doesn't stay at Clemson after this year.
I mean, he can't possibly be Clemson's quarterback next year, right? Because
that's what I'm saying. So, and he can't go pro, right? Unless he just has like this, ascendancy into just being Heisman level quarterback. I could see him transferring. And he had the talent to be he's number 2, right? Behind Bryce Young.
Yeah.
In that class. So he clearly has some talent. It's just maybe Clemson's not the place for him.
Well, he could be good, and they just like Cade more.
Yeah.
Cade's looked pretty good. Yeah. I loved that they put in Cade against Georgia Tech, and they were running like no huddle, like just chucking it. And I loved that it was wasn't it to Dabo's kid? I love that like these guys like Dabo's got Kirk Herbstreit's kids everywhere. Same with like Stoops. Stoops' kid actually seems like he's decent. And then I think there's a Herbstreit on Ohio State too. I mean, they're everywhere. I just love it.
It's actually quite impressive that they're good enough. And maybe it's their name. Maybe it's their name. I get
think
it,
it's
but
straight name.
but you're in the game. I feel like you better not look like an idiot out there. But
yeah, so he had some catches in that drive.
That's a whole other discussion. But
yeah, can we just mark off never using a Texas A&M player ever again? Like A. Shane is their best player, but their offensive line is awful. He has to basically score like twice for him to like be relevant week to week. I think I said this to you, Andrew, maybe last week. They ran 38 plays against App State. Like they won't do it again. They ran 52 plays last week.
Gross.
Like just awful, slow, bad football. Like and then I just would never going to roster those guys again.
So we had our Google chat throughout the week, and we were talking about Evan Hull, right? Like how everybody missed on Evan Hull, and he's like surprisingly good. And then Andrew made a comment, and it got me thinking. I'm like, you know what? He's 100% right. I think he's the Mateo Durant of this year. You know where I'm going with this, Chris.
Yeah, you don't have to do this, man.
And I'm thinking, man, I wonder what sucker's going to take.
Did someone
in a trade?
Did you trade Evan Hull for somebody?
No. I got a trade offer with Evan Hull in it. And I said, no, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be Chris.
Yeah, don't do me. Yeah.
But no, seriously, like, do we think he keeps that pace? Or do you think it kind of dies off like Durant?
He's got some bad Big Ten games ahead of him, right? Like, he plays in the Big Ten West. So there's a bunch of.
So here's their remaining schedule. Miami of Ohio, at Penn State, Wisconsin, at Maryland, at Iowa, Ohio State, Minnesota, Purdue, Illinois.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah, that's not as good.
Nice playoff close if he's not dead by now. Then
yeah,
right. But that Penn State, Wisconsin, Penn State through Ohio State, like that 5-game stretch is going to be kind of where we decide like, okay, maybe he is Heisman candidate. Because if he keeps up this pace, he's going to be in the discussion.
There's no way. No way a Northwestern guy will win a Heisman or get close.
2,500 yards. He's not getting in. You don't think he's getting in New York?
He probably goes. They invite less people to New York now, don't they, than they used to? Is it just like 3 guys?
It's usually 3. I think they've done 4 before.
There's no way. It's Northwestern.
You're right. You're probably right. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Here, question for Andrew to get Andrew a little hype.
Ooh, yeah.
Brock Bowers. Insane
Did you
game.
play him? Did you play him this past weekend?
I had some, yeah. I had some good lineups with him,
Me
but
too.
I didn't have Sizzle with him. So once Sizzle went off, I went from like first to like 50th. It was awful. But do you think he keeps it up? Do you think going into SEC play, like continuing, he keeps having big games?
It's just gonna be peaks and valleys, and optimally, just from like a DFS or even season long perspective, if you've got a quality counterpart to him that you can start at tight end, maybe it's a little bit predictable. Like I had that vibe that they were just gonna like chuck it to him all game this game after him not really getting much going in the first couple games. So that was nice. It felt predictable, and then it actually happened. But it will probably be fairly unpredictable when he goes off and when he doesn't, week to week, right? Like us, the Georgia Bulldogs, will be scoring 40 plus pretty much every week. Variable if we actually have to play our starters into the third quarter or not. Most weeks, I would say. But I don't know. It seems like it's probably going to be pretty tough to pin down when he is going to have big games.
Yeah, I mean, obviously has the talent. So I'm just thinking, like, does Eric Gilbert like not playing help? Does AD Mitchell not playing help?
Yeah, you would think so, right? They when they're healthy, there's like 6 to 8 guys that, without reaching too hard, you're like, oh, that dude is talented. Like he'll see the ball 3 or 4 times, and you could say that about. And then all of a sudden, you've got 28 touches spread around across like 6 to 7 guys, right? And we'll score 40 points that way without really blinking an eye most weeks. But yeah, if AD's banged up, Eric's not on the field, then things consolidate a little bit.
So I had a question, Andrew. I listened to you guys do the podcast last week, and you were talking about that 4-1 or 4 whatever league that you're in.
Yeah,
and you can only pick a player once for the season, which I love, by the way. That's some
great.
quirky thing I would come up with. But anyway, you were talking about, because you hadn't taken any of the Ohio State receivers yet. Did you happen to take Marvin this week?
I did. I took Marvin.
Nice.
So I felt good about that, and so last week was a Sweet 16 in the first half tournament of that, and I was up on my opponent early in the evening, and then Marvin started going off, and I had some other guys going off too, and I by 10 o'clock, so I was on vacation, so I was like pretty banged up by that point, and the USC game was getting set to come on, and I was trying to do the math on if I should keep Caleb and Jordan Addison in my lineup. Like I basically had the mindset like I'm going to fire all my bullets, or as many, like a lot of bullets, and just make sure I get through. But I was up like 25, 30 points, and I had more players to go than my opponent that I was facing, and I was like, I think I'm good, but if I wake up in the morning and I somehow lost by a point or two, I won't forgive myself. So I just kept them in, and I should have pulled them, because now I can't use them again the rest of the year. But now I'm in the Elite 8 of that bracket. So
hey, survive in advance.
Exactly. Figure it out.
It had to be kind of bittersweet though, seeing Travion go down, get hurt.
Dude, another one of my dudes just
been
not really
brutal.
panning out. Yeah.
So I'm actually very encouraged by that game, but for another reason. DeQuan Finn looked pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah. Jared said on his pod he's like QB9 on the year or some shit, which seems ridiculous. I can't believe he's been performing that well. But I
tried to tell you guys. I tried.
Who did he face weeks 1 and 2? It was UMass and an FCS team, and then he put up decent numbers against Ohio State. So,
it was Long Island. I think it was Long Island and UMass. Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, I had him as my like QB 7 or 8 or something like that in my preseason projections. One of the only things I got right, other than maybe Sam Pinckney. I got Sam Pinckney.
And
right.
then I keep hearing Andrew say, some of us stashed guys for Maction later in the year, and I'm thinking, well, I've got DeQuan Finn
I stashed him for Ohio State game.
Yeah. By the way, Justice is in the. He's one of the 3 viewers.
So
You guys.
Old Dominion.
Yeah. So he actually made a
I was
comment. He made a comment. Zach Kuntz finally had a week. Hopefully, he can keep it going against Arkansas State. Well,
So
Arkansas State.
my dilemma, one of the main dilemmas I have this week in the 4-1 league is what Old Dominion guy or guys do I play against Arkansas State? I haven't used any of them yet, and it's Arkansas State. So even though Justice, that offense has left something to be desired thus far, right? I think the 2 wins against P5 teams are definitely nice, but I don't know.
I like Ollie Jennings a lot. He sure performs.
Yeah, I know he's your boy.
I can't.
He's after consulting Justice, that's who I've got in right now. But I think you can make an argument for any of him or Kuntz or Watson this week as being really good plays. It's Arkansas State. Like when I start building my roster every week in this league, it's like who is Arkansas State playing? Who is UNC playing? Who is Charlotte playing? And hopefully I have not played some of those players already, and then I can just workshop it from there.
Yeah. So like this is one of those years. It never happens this way, by the way. Like all of my guys seem to be doing it this year. Like it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Right, but I don't have any of them, by the way. I have none other than I had Bolt, but that was the only
one that didn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, but he broke his leg.
Right.
But I mean, all my other guys that I've stashed, like Javon Baker, like come on.
Yeah.
Like who saw him being their best receiver? Like I didn't. I know I was hopeful for it, but like he's consistently been their best target.
Been awesome.
But is there any other games you guys wanted to discuss?
Are we still talking week 3? Or are we?
We're talking about week 3. We were talking about week 3. Okay, I'll ask you this question. So, how impressed are you with USC over Fresno?
No,
because that's got to.
No.
I mean, no, I think obviously USC should win that game, and they did. But Fresno's a good team, and they just
got hurt.
Okay, but do they win the game or even keep it close if he's?
So
if he's in the game?
I don't like. You're doing the exact thing that people shouldn't be allowed to do. No one's allowed to make a big deal out of USC beating Fresno State. Fresno State's a good G5 team, and that I think it's fun to root for them, and it's awesome when they do well. But the idea that USC should be praised in any capacity for beating them and doing anything but waxing them would be unacceptable.
It wasn't necessarily praise that I was going for. It was more so that okay, maybe they are legit, maybe not great, but maybe they're solidifying their stance of where they maybe should be.
Well, I mean, I don't have any question about them being able to compete with any team when they walk onto the field any week. I'm hopeful that they lose some games because of their defense, because I don't want Caleb winning the Heisman. I've got my Stetson ticket, and then I've got a decent amount of Utah to win the Pac-12 as well. So I'll be rooting actively against them to lose some games. But I mean, they're a really, really good team. But their defense is a definitive flaw. If I don't know what point Hayner got hurt, but just looking at the stat line, like he attempted 18 passes, the backup attempted 12. Presumably, he got hurt fairly early on in that game. So when you see 45-17, I think you have to take that into account as well.
Yeah. USC is like pretty comparable, it feels like, to Oklahoma of last year, right? Yeah. Like really talented, big name recruits, big quarterback.
They should probably beat everybody on their schedule.
And then they somehow lose
to Kansas.
A game or two that they should. Yeah, right? Like that they should. And the funny thing, too, is Pac-12 feels pretty comparable to the Big 12, right? Like you have your one or two teams at the top, your Utah, maybe your Oregon, maybe that's
Washington kicked the snot out of Michigan State, did they not?
Yeah, I'm not sold on Michigan State's shocker. They just don't.
Well, they were up big, and then I guess Michigan State scored a couple touchdowns at the end.
Yeah, and they didn't have a great passing defense last year, so Penix could be awesome. but I mean, I think we see a fall.
It could be awesome, but in our graphic from like 2 months ago, we labeled him as an arm punter. So
he's an arm punter. Just wait for it. Okay,
it's not looking great.
Just wait for it.
There was one more game. Oh, this one I got to ask. So, Chris, were you at the Auburn game?
I was not, thankfully.
Okay.
Gave a buddy those tickets.
That's one of those, like, I thought, okay, they're going to keep it close. And everybody kept showing the hit that what's his face got, like, leveled, like, running for a first down.
Clifford,
thinking,
right?
Oh, yeah. And he's running for a first down. I'm like, okay, Auburn might – maybe the implication of that tweet was like, oh, welcome to the SEC, you know, blah, blah, blah. Right? And I'm thinking, like, oh, Auburn must be doing well in this game. I go check the score, and they're just getting blown away. I said, oh.
They got ridiculed and laughed at for not, like, tweeting the final score because, like, a lot of Auburn fans apparently will tweet at the schools that they beat and be like, tell us the final score type thing, or like reply to those posts.
But they don't have a Sean Tucker on their team either that's going to give them the recap, the rundown of the game.
The most bland recap. It's like when someone's like, you know, that viral thing that's like, tell me like the most exciting day of your life in the most boring way. Like that's how Sean Tucker talks about it.
It's like those Magic Johnson tweets. You know, have you ever seen those?
Yeah.
Schley had a good game. I mean, they blew out Long Island. The same team.
As expected. They just didn't they ran them one time.
I wanted to give Andrew credit because I did hear him say, I don't know if it was on this last week's pod or maybe it was the week before. He said that, you know, Schley, everybody's picking Schley to have a monster week this week, but you said last year Crum didn't do much against the FCS team either, and Schley did what he was supposed to do, but he didn't have to do much more.
Yeah.
So
they know what they need to do, right? They're
on
not
script from Andrew. So now Andrew, from this point on, he's gonna run away with the
needs to survive Athens this week.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you just, you know, just get a couple reps in early. Get a couple reps in early. It's 28 nothing at the end of the first quarter. Just go ahead and pull him.
Let Cooper give the ball to Cooper 30 times.
Well, don't do that because I have him.
I know you do. 30 times for 26 yards.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. Kent State knows they're here for one reason, to make the money, and then that way they
finance every other.
Then they can afford Maction.
Other sport.
So.
Right. Cool. All right, so I guess we can move to week 4. Is there any game? I haven't really even looked at it. Like I said, I didn't watch much last weekend. Any games stick out to you? I guess Clemson Wake Forest is kind of interesting.
So that's my pick this week, where I'm just throwing a lot. I'm probably not doing much main slate DFS, but I think I'll probably do like 2 or 3 lineups just to
Wake stacks.
Try to put the ideas that I've formed. I want to give myself a chance to win some money off them, and one of them is
Clemson's favored by 7.
Yeah, I want to stack Wake because I'm seeing like the prevailing idea seems to be Clemson always shuts it down. Clemson's D so good, right, and all those things short, but the Wake offense can go nuclear at any time. So if I can get like 3-4% ownership on Hartman, Perry, and Donovan Green, let's do it.
Is there another team that fits that mold
on that slate? That was the one that I was.
I think that's the clear definition of what you talked about last week.
Yeah.
Like great offense, for historically bad matchup for Wake Forest. They've never done well in that matchup, but A.T. Perry and Sam Hartman could go for 80 combined fantasy points.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. Do you go a Clemson guy on the reverse?
Yeah, Shipley. Even though Shipley's gonna be so owned, right? He's gonna
be. Think so?
Yeah, I don't know. When I was just trying to throw a lineup together before this idea came to me, it was 6,700. The dude will get 100 and a couple touchdowns, and that's fine. He'll put up and he'll catch a few balls, and he'll put up between 25 and 30.
I like Shipley. I think that he has just not been needed. So last year, he saw a really good amount of usage, and he was a true freshman.
Well, they were inept. They were inept throwing the ball. He was their only option.
So I
think they're trying to spread it around a little more.
Yeah, I think he's going to do more than he's been asked to this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the games, right? They've been winning by a good bit. They're playing weaker opponents. So, like, Clemson knows they got like 1.5 good offensive players. Like, let's not hurt them before going into the conference play.
So shout out to Brett. Brett says episode 30. Nice.
Our dog.
So yeah, I think he's left a comment on every video.
Brett keeps the lights on here.
Yes. So thank you for watching. Oh, he's also he made the comment on the shower. He must be behind the live portion of this.
This will be good. That's awesome. So for me, I think two of my teams have high upside potential quarterback plays that I am interested to see full games out of. If Robbie Ashford plays a full game, I think that would be super interesting because he just he's like Nick Marshall 2.0.
Yeah.
So I think that could be cool, but I don't know how Harsin is going to utilize that. So we'll see. I'm curious about that.
It's not a real offense. He looked like Bo Nix back there last week.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's great. So, and funny enough, he is from Oregon, where Bo Nix is straight crushing it right now.
Yeah.
So, did you have Bo Nix Heisman money?
No.
Tickets on that one?
Why would I need that? I don't.
Could have been some good odds. And the other one is JJ McCarthy. He finally won the gig. You know, he played well last week, but it's like the same with all the Michigan guys. I think that's why I'm struggling in best balls is because I have so much Blake Corum, and he just never gets used until last week.
Was the 5 touchdowns last week not good enough for you?
It was finally good enough. 5 touchdowns on like it was like what 12 for 76 or something.
Yeah.
Just so random. So I'm curious to see how he does. McCarthy does in a full game. I'm curious
he's
to see
expensive,
how
right?
Harbaugh does
Isn't
it.
he like 7,700 or some shit?
Yeah, he's expensive, but I would probably rather it be that way because like if he's too cheap, then everybody's going to be on him. There's enough value elsewhere that you could do.
Oh yeah, there's so much value in the slate.
Yeah. Do you buy Jalen Daniels? Do you guys think that like Jalen Daniels will keep it up?
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a fun game. What do you? What is he priced at this week? It's not that bad, right? It's like 6,500 or some shit.
It's like it might be high sevens. Honestly,
really? I want to play Riley Leonard at 6,000.
Yeah, he's gonna be very high owned,
yeah.
but it'll be worth it.
So what's Brew McCoy at? Because this is his coming out party.
He's in that 5K range. He's always there, you know.
Well,
I'm curious.
This is the last week you guys can get him there because he's going to be a monster this week.
It sounds like Tillman's not going to play. That's from everything I can tell. It's like a high ankle sprain because I've looked. You know it.
Well, Brew could be kind of the contrarian, right? Because everyone's going to stack high with Hooker.
Yeah. I mean, I think both of them.
Not if they listen to this podcast.
Yeah,
it's not going to be contrarian.
All 14 of those people are going to jam the contest, drive his ownership up.
Now, I'll say, just looking through the schedule, the game of the week, like in my opinion, might be James Madison, App State.
That's like the sicko game of the week, right?
Like, why didn't they make that the game day? Like last week, I mean, they ended up living up to a great ending and all that stuff, but let's face it, like they shouldn't have even been in a game with Troy.
Yeah, I think they've done by random note. I think they've done a game day at JMU, haven't they?
What's that App State?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying a couple of years ago, just out of random comment.
Yeah,
so
it's possible.
I can't figure out what they're going to do DraftKings wise for this night slate.
Dude, I was just going to say it's a fun week with a lot of fun games, but it always makes me like so sad when I scroll all the way down to the bottom of the schedule and I can see in just the like 6 games that are shown at the bottom in the score app that there's only 4 games after 8 p.m. Why can't we get it? Why can't we get more 8:30 and 9 p.m. start games? I don't understand.
Yeah,
because it hits like a weird time slot. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Chris,
late night slate's gonna be nice though. I love a good late night slate. I'm
So
gonna be at a wedding, so go for
Oh, there you
Hawaii,
go. That's beautiful.
Hawaii, New Mexico State. Somehow New Mexico State's favored by 4.5.
Dude, I woke
What
up
do
in
you
the middle of the night last week and checked the Hawaii score, and it was like halftime, and they were up like 14-7, and my boy Joey Yellen was like 8 of 20, and then or 13 of 20, and then I fast forward. I wake up in the morning, and that was the final score, or they scored a few more points, but like I don't think they may not have attempted a pass in the second half or something. Like I need to go look at the play-by-play. It's I know Justice. I'm ready to come to grips with this. That the Hawaii's not good this year, but like I don't understand how. I don't know.
I remember that
Fucking
episode.
Duquesne.
We picked those wins, and I told you guys the entire time. I'm like, no, please, no.
You did.
The whole time, I'm like, no, that's a loss.
There's time to turn it around. As long as there's games on the schedule, there's time to turn it around.
But we are looking good, hating on Michigan State after last week.
We are.
And Florida State.
Why? They came back to beat.
I'm just kidding. I think they already hit the total of wins that we should do.
Didn't we, Michigan State? Didn't we give them like 5 wins or something like that?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mostly just a mess. The Michigan State fans make up like 40% of Burning the
Dynasty.
Redshirt, Discord.
Discord.
So might as well have some fun.
Right.
It
used to be Minnesota. I mean, we had a bunch of Minnesota fans. I think we might still, but
really,
they're closeted.
Yeah.
They're hiding for some reason. We have some decent FSU and Oklahoma fans. I'm surprised we didn't get ripped up for the FSU one, but thankfully
because they didn't hate it because they don't know what to think of their team either.
I cannot believe that New Mexico State is 4-point favorite over Hawaii.
They've gone back to that Diego guy at quarterback too. It looks like.
Jeez.
Pavia.
Yeah, Diego.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he was pretty terrible in that first game.
He had 2 rushing touchdowns a couple weeks back, so that'll be.
I mean, like they played Nevada, Minnesota, UTEP, and Wisconsin, and lost all 4 of them.
So I got two Vegas totals that are just comical. Okay, the first one is more not surprising, which is Iowa Rutgers. What do you think that spread or that total is?
I saw this already.
47.
Oh my God. 35 and a half. It's so incredible. I think the Big Ten in like the career of like history of football, the Big Ten owns every single like sub 40 Vegas total.
Oh, it's 34 and a half according to ESPN right now.
People got down
pounding the under. The other one is, have you seen this Chattanooga, Illinois line for tomorrow?
No.
So Illinois is 17-point favorites and it's 39 and a half. Incredible. And you know who the quarterback is for Chattanooga?
No.
Preston Hutchinson.
Oh,
nice.
I'm very curious to see what people do with ownership for him tomorrow. It doesn't really matter, though, because the slate of stuff on DraftKings is tiny because of Thursday Night Football.
Right.
So it's like literally, it's like, why even bother playing?
So do we think Air Force bounces back against Nevada this week or no?
I mean, they have to, right? Nevada's
They're a 24-point favorite, but the over-under is only 46 and a half. So I would hope they'd win.
I mean, I think Nevada's got Nate Cox hurt, right? So it's either like a banged up Cox or Shane Illingworth. There's 2 giant white guys at quarterback. I just realized that they have to have the tallest.
Is Ellingsworth a big dude?
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah,
isn't he like 6'7" or something, 6'8"?
That's
6'6", 230. He's like
that's Cox, yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, 6'6", 230, and Cox is like 6'10".
Yeah,
6'9". Man, Nate Cox looks like he is like 44 years old. Have you ever seen a picture of him? Incredible.
I hope he's not one of the 3 viewers of this podcast.
I didn't say he's bad. All I said was he's banged up and he looks 44. That's it.
Have you ever seen a picture of him? Oh man, that's great.
What do you think of? Let's get controversial.
Okay.
CJ Donaldson.
Go. My dog. Controversial in sense of, do you play him at tight end or not? Is that what you're meaning by that?
That's what I'm asking. Yeah. Do you feel
as the commissioner? I don't really have a problem with it, but I put him at the flex so I didn't have to hear all of our league mates bitch when I won the league. Anyway,
I'm just of the mind that whatever your rules were at the beginning of the season, you just stick to them and don't.
like the thing is, he's only listed as a tight end, so that you can either only play him at tight end or flex.
Yeah.
So
I'm with Andrew.
Like
ultimately,
right? No, I mean I don't disagree. I did it just so I didn't have to hear.
I love that. It's such a savage move. I love every second.
But it also, he doesn't get a ton of passes thrown his way. Like he might have a catch or two, but he gets most of his stats just running the ball. So it's not really a benefit in our league anyway to play him at tight end.
Right.
So many guys this year are making me realize that like the axiom from the NFL that so during the pandemic I got super into like the beginning of it. I got super into NFL Dynasty, started listening to like a ton of podcasts and playing it for the first time. And it's so funny how you need to think about things like with such a long-term outlook and try to figure out like what is earned by a player and how that projects going forward in terms of like targets and production and stuff like that versus like what they just kind of stumbled into. And this year coming into like throughout the offseason, I fell for such a trap on so many guys. The idea that like this vacated production is just going to be filled by the only guy that we've heard of and that we can realistically kind of project to take it just based on opportunity. Like that is something that I want to make sure I don't venture down that path again this year. Guys like Tony Mathis, Calvin Tyler Jr., Chris with Jordan Houston, like that's not how it works. Just because the one guy we've heard of is the only guy in a room that has any sort of track record, that guy's not going to get 100% or anything close to that of the opportunity. It's like if he's not talented, they're not going to just give him 30 carries or 15 targets just because. So a lot of like when I was taking Mathis and Tyler mostly was earlier on in the offseason when it was really tough to kind of seek out news, get a sense for how the lay of the land is. So yeah, there's some floor there associated with them, but the idea of this capturing this 100% opportunity ceiling probably never existed to begin with. So especially as the offseason progresses in coming years, that's a learning that I want to take away from the season. And I'm talking about it. The reason I talk about it now is just CJ Donaldson. Like we had no idea, right? But it makes perfect sense. Like Tony Mathis is nothing special. So if there is anyone else that has any sort of skill set, like they fucking took a tight end, just threw him at running back because they see that Tony Mathis is just like a dude that's going to take 15 carries and go for 4.5 yards and be boring as can be. So stuff like that will happen if you're not talented, I think, in most scenarios, if you're not any sort of exceptional talent. So that's
Right.
I don't know. I think it's something that I want to try to apply to make my game a little stronger going forward.
That's fair. So I picked him up right before week 1 because I read a report.
That's so fucking insane. How did you?
I don't know where I read it. I think it was. I must have been like deep into Twitter, like deep dive, probably researching someone else,
HN or Fortune or something.
Yeah, and I was reading up on somebody else, and they said this Donaldson freshman tight end is getting snaps at running back. I'm like, oh, that seems kind of cool. Maybe I take him and see what happens, and that's what happened. So
yeah.
It worked out for me. Like I said, like knock on wood, right? like all my guys are doing something this year, and it's making me a contender, and I'm kind of loving it. Even though my quarterbacks are like without like Finn, and I guess Perry was good. I benched him this week because the matchup, but I played Levis this week, and it worked out okay. But my quarterbacks, I think, are what's going to get me. Like, is not going to get me over the hump in the end, unless DJU starts, like I said, taking off, which I doubt.
Throwing pills out there.
Yeah. So Finn's going to have to go for 60 every week, which I guess is possible. Baby. Which is possible, yeah.
I mean, the dude has incredible upside, so it's 100% possible in action, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm shocked that all three of us, for the first time ever, probably have a actual decent team. Like all of us are decent.
Yep. It's
My
usually
team
one
is
of us
not
is
awful.
halfway decent, and the other two are just trash.
Yep.
And it's like it seems to rotate. Like it's more. Actually, no, it's not true. It's usually me that's near the bottom.
Oh,
Like, I
it's
have this
always
high
me
hopes.
too. Andrew's got good potential. Zach, you're more middle of the road, and I'm always in the bottom.
Well, your team name was Trust the Process for like 3 years.
And look at me now. We're 4-2. The process said trade Bryce Young, and it's worked out so far.
It actually has. Like it couldn't be more perfect. Like
Bryce
he hasn't
Young's been
looked
good.
great. He hasn't looked great though.
The thing is, that deal was weird because I included Keyshawn Butte, and I got Marvin Harrison back. So that's what's been like has made that trade a lot.
Good on you, bro.
And I got a draft pick I wasted on Trevante Citizen, which is a bummer. But
we just talked about earlier in the show, like the talent's there, even if he transfers or something. Like you've got a guy that might be really good anyway, and he's hurt anyway, so you might as well just hold on to him.
Yeah, I'm letting that ride for sure. So
yeah. So Justice is upset I didn't share those nuggets with us peons on Donaldson preseason. Sorry. I it was one of those like
the problem is if that's like the one thing that you thought that actually hit, and you'd be leading sheep to slaughter 98% of the time if you shared all your insight.
Like, hey guys, get this guy. He's going to be starting running back. Book it, right? Like,
yeah,
there's no way. Like, I did it. I honestly did it because he was a freshman. I said, well, at the very least, if he's that talented to get snaps at running back as a freshman tight end, he's got talent. So I said, okay, at the very least, I stash him for the year, and it turned out great. So,
do we think he lasts? Do we think that actually lasts though?
I mean, as long as it lasts,
he's a good running back?
Donaldson, I haven't watched him, but
he's a big
just like
dude.
some like jacked up athletic freak.
He's like 6'3", 230,
240.
240. Yeah, he's a big dude. I guess technically, right? Like Letty Brown was a big dude, and he was great for fantasy. So, and I didn't think. Well,
he's not getting a ton of carries though. Like he's just making the most out of the little carries he's getting.
Yeah.
He's averaging about 10 carries a game.
I think they're intentionally doing that though. They're like using him in. Like he'll be getting 20 plus by the end of the year.
What do we think he gets tomorrow? I mean, Virginia Tech is their biggest.
Awful.
Well, I mean, the Pitt was a
Where's
big
the game tomorrow?
It's at Tech.
Are you going?
Man, I wish that'd be so fun, but no.
Dude, that'd be so cool. Yeah.
That's the type of game you would
run for 5 touchdowns.
I'm gonna have him in fantasy. That's the type of game though you go to at Tech. You go to like the night. It's obviously cool to go to a game, period, but you need to go to the night game if you're going to.
So question, since I don't do the DFS, which actually I could. I might be able to do it now since I'm
in Florida.
Check it
out.
Yeah, you're in Florida.
Anyway, where do they have
He's a receiver. Because they don't have a tight end, so they put all tight ends as receivers.
So he isn't listed as a running back. Okay.
No, he's a receiver, which is funny. It's just looking at it, you're like, it's just a weird look because he is a tight end. Only because West Virginia's too lazy to update their roster page. Like that's literally it.
Do you think they recruited him with the intent of him playing running back, or do you think they said, "We know you're a tight end, just come here and we'll get you on the field," kind of thing?
I mean, he had to have been I would have imagined he was maybe not. I was just saying, like
6'2", 240 already as a freshman. Like he had to be a huge high school senior.
I'm just curious if he played running back.
Derrick Henry like size. I don't know. I mean, I would like to think that he had some experience carrying the ball, but I don't know. I didn't dive that deep. I also hit on Jaden Ott. Like, what the hell? I remember getting him in the draft. I said, I guess I'm going to grab him. He looks pretty good. He's a freshman. I need some youth on my team, and he turned out to be halfway decent. So I'm pretty happy with my team so far, even if I don't win anything. Like honestly, the worst pick I've made was probably Miles Price.
How do we think that shakes out? Because that's like, if you play that right the rest of the way, you could really benefit.
Yeah.
Do we think it's Morton? Do we think
don't
it's Shuck regardless?
I don't. How can we have any expectation that Chuck's going to come back and be healthy? Like, it cannot be coincidental that the dude breaks. What was his left side? Is there a left and right collarbone? I have no idea. I think it was.
I think it's the collarbone is.
So he breaks that side or whatever. I think because they were saying as much.
His left clavicle.
Last year, misses all last year. Takes one hit on it this year, and it's fucked up again. Like, first of all, how bad's your medical staff? Like that you can let that happen. And second, how can we have any expectation that this dude can come back and take a hit and make it through an actual football game? So if Shuck was actually healthy, I would think that he would just, unless he totally just was throwing pick after pick after pick, was like I would think he would see the job through for the rest of the year. I thought it was so weird watching the NC State game this past week. Why every single play is so long developing? NC State's getting endless pass rush, no problem on them. You've got a quarterback that, while he's had success, he's still developing as a passer. His best assets are his legs, his arm. Like, get the ball out quickly, just not trying to simplify things for him. And they're calling these long developing plays that are either just like long downfield routes or like the fake screen and go deep thing. All that stuff takes time, and you clearly didn't have that. So that I don't think that Kidley, whoever else is involved in game plan, did him any favors at all. But that being said, I mean, he's still not good at all in that game.
Yeah. The problem is he makes such poor decisions.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's just insane. But they also played at NC State. Like, we all knew they have a great defense. So, like, how much can you really blame him for being poor? The problem is he just took it to another level with really bad decisions. It feels like Kitley's offense needs like experience and actual reads, right? Like, that's why Zappy was amazing, was like not actual physical talents, and maybe a little bit of physical talents because he's in the NFL, a 5th round pick. But like, so he had such a good decision making in his head. He was very accurate. Shuck, I think, can provide more than Smith. So I think he's the quarterback when he gets back. But Smith, I don't think you could play Morton. Morton looked bad too.
Did he?
Yeah, he was basically just as bad without the pick six, you know? So this at home, this is an opportunity for Smith to get right. Maybe the coaching staff gets right a little bit too, because you're right. Like, they set him up for failure.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. I'm trying to look at some other games that kind of are late this week.
While you do that, I didn't get a chance to give my thoughts on Colorado State. So I think that there's two things happening here. One, I think it backfired that what most likely happened from a personnel standpoint wasn't just bringing in all these transfers, but it doesn't seem like there was any sort of meritocracy here. The idea that Dante Wright can't get on the field is kind of ridiculous, even though like I was laughing to myself and on this podcast that the idea that he was going super high in basketball is like, that dude is still a top 2-3 receiver, even though Horton's a beast and Horton's going to command a large target share. Like, there's no reason for him not to be on the field unless he basically said, "Hey, don't play me. I'm looking to transfer. I'm not trying to burn my eligibility." The O-line's a total disaster. But just like when we see from a personnel perspective, like ditto Dante Wright, the idea that David Bailey just can't get on the field at all feels super weird to me. And then what you're seeing also with respect to like the transfers, that you even just put Stovall to the side. I just feel like one of the things that likely happened was Norvell picked his guys agnostic of how people were actually performing in practice, and that potentially that probably didn't sit well with the team. It wouldn't surprise me if the team isn't very unified at the moment. I saw betting odds come out recently that had him, I think, as the third most likely coach to get fired. And you never know with those things because they're so uninformed. The market's so ridiculous. It's not efficient in any way whatsoever. And it's a lot of times, like similar to how Heisman odds, we'll see, like when Heisman odds first come out, you'll see guys that aren't even playing college anymore on them sometimes. So it could be that. But I thought it was super weird, like this, like just the idea that he could be considered for being fired like 3 games into his career with nothing representative of like a scandal or anything like that. Like, is there something that isn't publicly available in terms of internal turmoil there? I don't know, obviously, but outside of the team just playing absolutely awful on the field, it feels like there's something going on within the program that maybe the team's just not getting along. There's people are at odds with one another. And yeah, the on-field performance has obviously been terrible. Like poor Millen. I thought it was just a 1-game thing against Michigan, going up against the Michigan D and taking like 50 sacks or whatever. And then, like we can't even get it going against Middle Tennessee. Like that's not good.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
Know how that IDP league's going.
So that's a great. Is that
play. The crypto one?
That's the crypto one, which apparently. I just pulled up my Slack randomly. I got like 20 messages about it. So apparently the organization staff that runs all the leagues, because they do like an NFL one, an NHL one, all that, basically said the coin we based all of this on is dead and worthless. So we're just going with US dollars from here on out. So like
disgusting fiat.
So the coin was worth like 1.1 USD.
Oh my God.
When it started, and today it's worth like 5 cents. So people have like.
So what's the name of the coin? Like where do you buy it at?
No idea.
Like, can I?
Speaking of coin, I wonder what my Shiba Inu's at.
It's not.
In due time. But yeah, just ridiculous. That team is. I mean, we're like 1-2. We literally hit every single. Let me tell you the running backs that we drafted that have done absolutely nothing. Me and my buddy Ben, that I do like projections and stuff with. Let's see. Our team name is Ingram Space Academy, inspired by Keontae Ingram. But our running backs are Nathaniel Pete, Corey Kiner, Byron Cardwell, and Kamar Wheaton.
These were all the guys I told you I wanted nothing of. Why did you go and draft every one of them?
Because it's a dynasty league.
And they were supposed to pump the crypto.
And they were going to pump the crypto. Yeah, they were going to pump. Apparently, they just dumped.
Those guys were the pump and dumps of this offseason.
But
okay, so I don't explain. I need you to explain this concept. I don't understand.
It's just a typical fantasy football league, but you get paid out in crypto instead of dollars. So like
So how did you pay?
I did
pay with fiat.
You had to like transfer $500 into this coin or something. I don't know. I didn't handle it. I'm here as an advisor, and I'm doing a great job, as you can tell. But also, by the way, those were just 5 running backs. Our other running backs are Donovan Edwards, Braylon Allen, and Terrio Brown. So we're fine. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, our IDP players are doing okay. I mean, it's just such a mess.
Who do you have?
Dude, these are just names. They're literally just names. We have this guy, Tyler Lacey from Oklahoma State, that's got 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. That feels good.
Do you have the UGA cornerback who makes an interception like every game, Stokes?
No, that would be a good one.
So cool.
It's stupid because Fantrax, so I have to applaud Fantrax for this one. They don't do tackles on Fantrax because they can't actually do it well. So they say, we're just not doing it. Like they literally go like nothing is reliable data wise. So we're just not going to do it. So it's like sacks and tackles for loss and then like turnovers and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like I remember years ago I did an IDP. I attempted to do it, and that was the issue we had then. Like their tackle statistics were either non-existent or just completely abysmal. Which is weird because if you go to CFB Stats, is who I use for stats anyway. Like I believe they have, maybe they don't anymore. they may
Do you
not
do
have
the
time.
old hand? You do the hand scoring for your IDP league?
I'm not in an IDP league, but years ago I did. I used to use this website, and I would say whatever it says is what we're going to do. But they were very accurate. I mean, as opposed to just what Fantrax was doing. So they would give you solo tackles, assisted tackles, and all that crap. But anyway, I think that's about all we got tonight, unless there's a game.
No, I'm just getting pumped and ready for tomorrow night. I have no idea.
Cool. All right. Well,
I tried to get there. I tried to get
you're
there in time
close.
to mute, but it was not. I don't have any idea what to expect. Our offense is going to be brutal. The only hope is that our defense is like actually good. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So Brett's definitely behind. All his comments are like from 30 minutes ago. So
he's coming with some good stuff though about the Clemson
Yeah.
running backs. I wish he was on time because that would have been good to know or think about when we said it the first time.
Yeah. But so next week I'll be back in my usual location and we'll have it set up like we normally do. But I'm glad I got to get on this one. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to. It was going to be the plan was actually going to be Chris and Andrew, but I got in with this hotel internet to work. So,
Yeah,
but anyway, all right, guys, that's all we got. So next week we'll see you guys later.